We're here at the World Economic Forum 2026 in Davos, and with me is Nicole Rycroft, founder and CEO, director of Canopy. And we're going to talk about a lot of things concerning sustainability, concerning the climate, all issues that have recently become very, very contentious, again, if I may say so. But my first question to you, Nicole, is where is the future headed with respect to your area of expertise for the entire world?
Right. So Canopy is a solutions-driven, not-for-profit organization, and we work to protect forest ecosystems around the world, and with that, communities, livelihoods, our climate, by transforming the materials supply chains that currently drive deforestation and forest degradation. And we work with more than 1,000 brands to move away from sourcing from high carbon, high biodiversity value forests to lower carbon, more circular alternatives, things that we call next generation solutions. And what we've seen is that there's been a real shift from this kind of sourcing, circularity, and next gen being a sustainability initiative to it actually being a core business priority, a resiliency strategy. As take, make, waste production systems, these kind of historic, linear production systems become increasingly volatile and prone to disruption as the climate crisis starts to intensify forest fires, increase the number of floods that are happening.
You did mention that you're working with so many clients and brands, and from what I've seen, it ranges from fast fashion to high-end couture.
Yes.
But my question here is, we've seen a bit of a shift in terms of how climate crisis is perceived, especially in the United States now.
Yes.
Do you think that's going to have a bit of an impact with respect to the work that you're doing? And if so, what could that impact potentially be?
That's a really great question because definitely there's a lot of noise. Like geopolitically, it's a very, let's say, turbulent, kind of dynamic time. But what we're seeing with brands and with investors is that there's a recognition that building resiliency into their supply chains is building resiliency into their business models. And so be they brand partners that we work with in Europe, like H&M and Inditex Zara, or in the luxury space like Stella McCartney, or be they US-based brands or Southeast Asian and Indian-based brands, sustainability and resiliency are now hand in hand, and that is a priority. Now, maybe brands aren't talking about it quite as much as they used to, but they're still behind the scenes doing the work.
Well, that's great to hear. So just to take that further, what kind of a shift are you witnessing in these brands, low-end to high-end ones? And what kind of protocol or framework are they following to ensure those sustainable changes slowly and surely in their system? Because at the end of the day, I think for customers and for viewers, it's also important to understand, if at all, that will have an impact on their pockets. So we're looking at what kind of policy framework we have around sustainability and what kind of impact it has on a person's wallet, especially in the fast fashion industry and the consumers of it.
Right.
So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think the solutions that we're looking to bring to market, so rather than using wood as the input for rayon and viscose textiles, t-shirts or little black dresses, or the packaging that it gets shipped around the world in, those solutions need to perform from a technical perspective. They have to have good technical performance. They need to look good, and they also need to be cost competitive. And so really that's about how we scale the production of these alternatives so that end consumers aren't having to make a choice between do they buy something that's sustainable and good for the planet, or do they buy something that fits within their budget. And so that's the work that we're doing with brands right through the value chain to it's a kind of pre-competitive space because no single company can transform an entire supply chain by themselves. And I think your point about government is a really powerful enabler, right? Like government policy, the signals that get sent from governments are really important. And so we're incredibly encouraged by the interest and the signals from some of the state level governments as well as the national government in India. Motivation around mitigating pollution, air pollution, as well as ambitious trade export targets, and recognizing that circularity is a real pathway to achieving multiple goals and mandates.
What goes around comes around, in effect, is what we're talking about here. You did mention that this is the second time you're attending the World Economic Forum.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to ask you about the change in the mood, in the atmosphere, or in the agenda that you may have witnessed between 2020 and now 2026. What are your takeaways so far?
Well, I would say on the official program, we see a lot less sessions that have climate as part of the official title. But I've been in the Congress the last day and a half, and almost every conversation that I've been part of, climate and resiliency and the mobilization of capital at scale to those solutions has been a core part of the conversation. And so I think, obviously there's a lot of geopolitical noise and distraction at the moment, but I think there's a recognition by almost everybody that's in the meeting rooms that I've been in anyway, be they brands, be they investors, even delegations, government delegations, that the path forward needs to be about building long-term resiliency and working within the limits of nature.
Speaking of geopolitical disturbance and chaos, we have to speak about the one person who's at the center of it, and that's the American President Donald Trump. Do you have any expectation from tomorrow when he addresses the World Economic Forum? Is there something that you're worried about, or is there something that you're keenly watching out for with respect to his remarks that may be coming in, either at the speech or at the sidelines?
I think I would be a very rich person if I was able to predict what the U.S. president was going to say in any given moment. So,
if we had $1 for every time we knew what he was going to say.
Exactly.
Well, that is true, but I think it's going to be a wait-and-watch moment. Clearly, there has been a lot of American influence with respect to how conversations are had. But it is going to be important to see how this goes. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate your time. That's all from me. I'm Dharamjot Kaur with video journalist Piyush here at Davos for WION World.